Hi, I'm Margie Scheller, and this is the Sober Life Rocks podcast. And if you're listening right now, this is holiday party season. And we spend an awful lot of time talking about what not to do or how to get out of situations. But Laura Nelson and I are here today to talk to you about how can you be the life of the party without drinking? Because that's the greatest fear is like, am I ever going to be fun again? And the answer is absolutely.
Welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. You may have made the decision not to drink alcohol, or at the very least, not at work-related events. Whether you've never been a drinker, are in recovery, or made a health-related decision, we see you, and you are not alone. In today's world, networking, socializing, and celebrations often happen over drinks, and the struggle can be real. Through this podcast, we're changing that narrative. We're here to create a community where individuals like you, who choose not to drink or drink less, can find camaraderie, support, and practical advice.
I feel socially awkward a lot. And one of the things that I've worked on really hard this year is learning how to start interesting conversations. And so I actually spend time in the car before I go in thinking of a couple of really good questions that I want to ask people and just getting people engaged in conversation on something light or funny or, some movie or some meme that's going around and just having it be something I can pull out of my pocket at any group that I walk up to and just start the conversation. Laura, what kind of ways do you get that going?
Yeah, I love that you have that as the first tip, because one of the things that I learned a long time ago, just outside of sobriety, just in general, that when you're focused more on people looking at you and what about you and whatever, that makes you're more interesting, meaning I'm worried about how interesting I'm in. But what you're saying is be more interested. Find questions that get conversation started, to be more interested in them, because people like to talk about themselves. So if you come up and you have some conversation starters, that's going to get them talking about you and the conversation is going to go great. So I love that. I'm going to go to my tip now, which I actually found, I didn't know this about myself, but when I was in college, I used to love to dance. And then I stopped dancing for the last 30 plus years because I realize now it's because I was always worried about that darn drink in my hand. Well, now that I don't care about the drink in my hand, I can set it down. It's not full of alcohol. I didn't spend $20 on it. I can go dance. And so I'm one of the first ones to go on the dance floor. Why not get out there, get some friends, grab somebody and go dance and enjoy the fact that you can get out there and start the fun, right? The biggest thing, and you said it earlier on, I was afraid when I got sober, I couldn't have fun. And I actually have more fun than I ever did. And so that is for me, like, just get out there and don't worry about it. For you, Margie, I don't know if I'd ever see you on a dance floor. Would you jump out there and dance, or is that not maybe one of the ones
No,
for you?
absolutely. Yeah, I would
good.
love to. I felt like when I first got sober, like I just felt so awkward. It was like I just didn't know how to even move my body without that sort of looseness of the drinking. Today, it is a whole different deal. Like I love it. And when I'm done, I'm done. And I just get up and go. Whereas before, I think I used to overdo it and get exhausted and hot and sweaty and gross and all the things.
Right. That's awesome.
So I'm all in. Now, I will say that you and I together have come up with this list of 8 tips on how to be the life of the party. And we both just wanted to dive in. So here we go with number 3. I am a big lover of games. I think games are the awesome way to connect people. And in fact, often if I'm going to some gathering and I don't really know how it's going to go, I'll slip a Uno card pack into my purse or some other fun little card game that's just portable. So that if there's kind of a group of people off to the side, I can whip that out and get people going. And you know what? People come over and they want to join in. They want to be part of, so that I'm sort of starting my own little party away from all the loud stuff going on. That being said, there's other people who are really into music.
Right.
And really into coming up with playlists and stuff. So they can dive in that way.
My husband and I were away this weekend, and we went into hotel lobby bar or whatever. It was kind of off season in Florida. And they were like, oh, we're eating dinner. And they're like, we're going to have bingo tonight. And we would never, but we were like, okay, sure. And we actually talked about this because in my book, The Inclusive Event Planner, I talk about have some things in your pocket to help people feel included. This guy did 80s music bingo. And so he had just bingo cards at everyone's seats with dry erase markers, and he played 80s music. And you just crossed off the bingos as he played, but it got people singing, it got people talking. We had the best time at dinner. I was thinking, what a great thing to have, like just something like that, where it's like name that tune or something where you can incorporate music in games. So I think that's a great one. So, all right,
That's
I'm on number
amazing.
4. Let's see. Mine is get creative around non-alcoholic drinks. And you and I were at an event where this actually came up, where we had a bartender there who we didn't know, but she had gone to school to learn how to make all types of drinks because she got frustrated also at the fact that everything had to have alcohol in it. And she started making lemon drops with and without alcohol. And it started a whole conversation with people who, some people had one drink and then choose to switch to the non-alcoholic one. Or some people are like, oh, thank goodness there's other drinks here. So when there's an opportunity, if you have the opportunity to like get creative with the drinks and ask the bartender to make, can you do something and add a splash of lime? I love stuff with spice. Can you add spice to it? Because the conversation, it's so funny. People think alcoholic beverages have to be, adult beverages have to be alcohol. They don't all have to have alcohol. We can figure out how to make drinks without it. So getting the conversation started, talking about it, you'll find people will come out of the woodwork and maybe get creative and have fun and make a drink you've never had before. So really getting that conversation. Have you seen that in any events and stuff you've been to?
I was actually at one not too long ago where it was a non-alcohol river cruise. And so what they had done, that the river cruise was they had sort of a smoothie bar. So you could have a fruit smoothie or a mango smoothie or a banana smoothie or whatever. And then she happened to also have some different sodas down below. And so somebody had found that she had ginger beer soda.
Oh, yeah.
And so we started playing. And so I had my mango smoothie and I poured in some ginger beer and it was phenomenal.
Wow.
And other people were like pairing Sprite with their smoothies. So I just think it was so fun that all of us were like, ooh, try this one and ooh, try that one. So like even as guests, we could like play with the different flavors.
For
so
sure.
I think that's a great way to do that. All right. Number 5, be a party connector. I love this because when I first came into this industry that you and I are both part of, which happens to be dentistry, I didn't know anybody. And so I literally found people who are great connectors and said, would you please help me, introduce me around? Now that I've been in this industry for a while, I can be that person. And so rather than getting stuck in a group of people who everybody's drinking hard or the conversation is all around alcohol, I can find some people and take them to a different group. Say, hey, have you guys met Laura? She's this and she's amazing. And Laura, you need to know so-and-so. And it just is another way for me to be the life of the party, simply by doing what really kind of comes naturally, which is just introducing good people to good people.
Right. Yeah. And it's the whole reason we're at these events. If you think about it, it's really for connection and networking. And so you're just doing it naturally and just not using the crutch of alcohol. We have a member in our community who is, I don't know how tall Greg is, like 6'5" or something. He's huge. And he is like the key connector for us. And we were at an event where it was a bar and they had mocktails, which is great, but we didn't know, we just knew our dental people, but he was pulling people from the other side of the bar over to us because they were sober or they didn't drink and he was like so good at that. So people, and we all talk about how we met because of this great connector. So I think that's, you just need to be 6'5", Margie. That's all.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. One of the things that I think about is that being sober out loud and allowing people who you do know to know that you are sober. Oftentimes they may know somebody else in the room who is sober, who you didn't know is sober. And they will naturally be like, oh my gosh, you need to go meet so-and-so. They don't drink too. And so it's another way to end up feeling like you're the life of the party because people want to introduce you to other people who are drinking. So
you're leading into so many things that we talk about at Sober Life Rock. So we talk about that, sober wingmen also, knowing that your friend doesn't drink or knowing that maybe there's a couple people there that don't drink and connecting people. That's what a sober wingman does. It's not like the sober, they drink, but they're just making sure people don't feel alone, which leads me to one of your best podcasts that I love that you did with Brett Kessler, who is the ADA, American Dental Association president, where he talks about many times people can feel very alone at events. And so as long as you know there's just one other person that doesn't drink, you're no longer alone. And so for those of you listening to this, if you drink and you're like, I don't get it, well, it can be very lonely. So just being connected to one other person in the room that you're like, okay, I'm not the only one. I mean, take yourself back to like high school and how awkward it is at things like this. We're just grown adults in a teenage world, right? So be the party connector. So I love that. Mine is number 6, which also makes me think of Greg, so Greg, when you listen to this, you're my super fan, or I'm your super fan, is lean into humor. People love funny people. Use jokes, use your awkwardness, use your comedy, use your whatever, but be real and be you. I'm the queen of that's what she said. So when anybody says anything it makes sense, I throw a that's what she said out and it always gets a laugh. Remember that many times people are using the alcohol because it's the social way that we connect, but also because they're a little nervous, they're a little awkward. And if you've got the ability to drop a joke at the right time, man, that's going to just bring that pressure down. So if you've got a dumb dad joke, put it in your back pocket. If you've got the funny thing that you saw on social media this week, you can share, have it, because funny stories and jokes will really connect people and lower that tension.
Yeah. And I think like I'm not that kind of funny. But what I can do is I can tell self-deprecating humor sort of stories, things where I was just an idiot. Like I just didn't know any better. And so going into end of the year parties, I specifically think of things where I just didn't know better. Now, the go-to for so many people is, oh my God, do you remember when we were so drunk? And so those aren't the sort of funny stories that I'm looking to tell today, but they are things that are more just around where I just didn't know, or I just put my foot in it. And I think that humanizes me and allows, like you said, other people to feel more comfortable and like we don't all have to put on this big front.
Right.
So humor comes in lots of different forms, but the main point is really a good one, which is we're all anxious in our own ways.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. Number 7 on the list. This is one that I actually love. It's one that I've gotten so into doing recently. And that is be the person who jumps up and takes photos or takes videos. Like be the one to create the memories for everybody else. Now, I will say that I have a little bit of moments where I'm like, hey, I'm on any of the photos that I took, but it doesn't matter because really what I'm trying to do is connect other people to the event and to each other. And so when I can send them the photos or like put them on social media, people just are like, wow, thank you so much for doing that. And for me, it allows, if people are focusing too much on the drinking, it allows me to still be involved, but have that separation where I'm not necessarily having to like stand next to somebody who's putting the line of shots in front of everybody.
Yeah. And that's a really good example. I've used that too, where like people are like, have a shot. And I'm like, no, you know what? You guys all line up. I'm going to get a picture. And when you can get out of the pressure of the thing, like let's say people are just wanting to do, I don't know, something silly. And you're like, I'll be the one to get the camera and get on the other side of it. They tend to forget. They're like, oh, good, we're going to get a picture of this. And you're like, yay, and, or a lot of times people would take pictures for you reciprocally. Is that the word? Like, reciprocate. So you offer to take a picture of some people and then you ask them to take a picture of you with somebody too. I do that all the time as, if I see people at a tourist event and I'm like, I'll take a picture of you guys. Now will you take one of us? Right. And so it just, again, lowers that awkward. Cause again, it's the people aren't thinking about it. Many times we're so focused on the drinking and the talking that we miss the capturing the moment. So I think that's big.
Pro tip, because the point is networking, what I'll often do is I'll say, oh my gosh, I don't have your phone number here. Give me your phone number. and then I
Ah.
can text it to them, and now I have their phone number. So it's been a way that I've gotten more people's phone numbers than I would have otherwise, just because
And
I
I
took
love
pictures.
that because I don't have good memory. And so then I have the picture of the person in the text and I'm like, oh, that's that guy I met, right? Because then I remember who that is. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
All right, our last one, which ultimately is, I mean, honestly, it's kind of the mantra for me when it comes to when I got sober, why I was afraid to get sober, is be present and be energetic. And the reason I got sober was for the reason to be present. But also, energetic for me matters because I was afraid to get sober because I didn't think you could have fun without alcohol.
Mhm.
And I didn't get sober for a long time because I didn't think you could have fun. And so, yes, it can feel like this is the difference between interested and interesting. You can feel like, oh, I'm the only one not drinking and oh, it's the spotlight's on me. Or you can just be interested and be energetic and be present and be happy and be real and be you because you're being watched by people. And there are some people in the room who wish they could be you, who wish they didn't have to have the drink, who wish they could be happy and not hungover tomorrow. So be okay with being sober and be energetic and be yourself because somebody's watching you. And there are a lot of people who wish they could go to a party like this and not drink the alcohol or be able to stop. And you are a role model. So hold that in your kind of in your superpower of you're setting the stage for somebody else. What about you, Margie? What are your thoughts on that?
So this is where yours and my differences, we love that we're so different. We love
Mm-hmm.
it. And when I see you at these group events, like you have the high energy, like fun and laughing and all of that. And that's just not me. I'm not that person. And again, in an event about a year ago, a dear friend of ours looked at me sort of feeling frozen in the midst of everybody getting the third and fourth drinks going. And she's like, hey, do you want to go grab a couple of chairs over to the side? I'm like, oh, do I? We went over to the side and we started talking. And because the music was lower over there, we were laughing and we were telling stories to each other. And then a third person came over and grabbed a chair. And then a fourth person grabbed a chair. And we suddenly found ourselves like needing a little bit more space for our quiet spot because not everybody being energetic doesn't mean like the big loud energy. It simply means being fully engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yep.
fully engaged looks different for people. But
Yep.
being sober, it's a superpower because
Mm-hmm.
we can be fully engaged as long as we want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Exactly.
don't have a taper off point. We
Yep.
don't have a point where being fully engaged gets a little blurry. We can be fully
Yep.
engaged the whole night. And oh, by the way, at that same event, like some music came on later that I really wanted to dance to. So I did. I jumped up and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go dance with a couple of my girlfriends. And then I went back and grabbed my chair and kept on talking. So it can be all of it.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah.
when I say energetic, and I agree with that, I am the one who, I'll get out there and be loud and all that kind of stuff. But then I love the quiet conversation. The biggest thing is being energetic in the sense of don't be negative on yourself or hidden
Mhm.
or feeling like, that you're just special and apart and be you. That's it. Just be you. You have decided not to drink, maybe just tonight, maybe at this event, maybe you're newly sober, maybe you don't know what you're going to do. But the biggest thing I can say is we go through life thinking we need to have alcohol at events, thinking we need to have alcohol at concerts and at holiday parties and at things. And have you ever done it sober? Because honestly, the focus of this event is about the party. The alcohol is separate. And so really leaning into enjoy the party. You might find some things out about yourself and other people you've never thought about. And other people are watching you saying, and I will tell you that you never regret not drinking the morning after. So the next day they're going to be hurting and you're going to be happy. So really leaning into that. But we hope that these are just some things that you can walk in prepared with so that you do feel like you're walking in wholly as you, comfortable as you when you go to an event like this.
Yeah. So after all that, I do want to just go back and summarize top 8 things that we think that you can do while not drinking to still be the life of the party. Number one, master the art of conversations. Number two, be the dance floor starter. Number three, offer to help with music or games. Number four, get creative with non-alcoholic drinks. Number five, be the party connector. Number six, lean into humor. Number seven, take photos or capture the moments. And finally, number eight, be present and energetic. I want to thank everybody for joining us for this special episode of the Sober Life Rocks podcast and invite all of you to our LinkedIn group, the Sober Life Rocks LinkedIn group, where we keep this conversation going and you can ask questions or share experiences or share ideas. Laura, thank you again for joining me. And until next time, this is the Sober Life Rocks podcast.